what's up, fam? And welcome to episode 33.
32. Let me just do one hand so I don't get yelled at.
It was 33.
It's 33.
33. There it is.
Should we do it again?
No, we're good. Let's go.
Oh my
Lock and
God.
load.
See, this is what happens.
Parenting style.
This
That's
is what
we're talking
happens
about.
when you do podcast with your family. They're A, very critical. B, very rude.
Yeah.
C, very impatient.
Speak for yourself.
She's looking in the mirror. She's telling herself, Velasquez, you got to stop being impatient. All right? That's what you're doing?
Anyways, so last week we touched on blended family as a whole, correcto?
And communication.
Well, right. The
Family meetings.
the foundation of all of that is communication.
But we talked about family meetings
Correct. But
specifically.
yes.
Yes.
We touched on family meetings.
We
I
talked
feel like
about
we
a lot of
didn't-
things, Velasquez.
We didn't just talk about family meetings yesterday.
Right.
I mean, last
I
week.
guess, I guess let me get the proof then right here.
Okay,
Babe, it was one of the topics.
Okay. No, never mind. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Let's move on.
Yes.
So we talked about navigating through the, the blended family dynamic, right? We talked about a lot about that last week.
the same thing I did.
It
Yep.
feels like last week. That's okay.
You mean
it
it
feels
feels,
like
like
yesterday.
yesterday.
There you go. Something like that. Is it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether you are a step parent, a biological parent, or child in the blended family, these dynamics that we're going to be talking about are to help families improve, help families move forward, because let's just agree that when there are disagreements, when there are, lack of understanding happening, we can seem like we're on different islands in our own home. I know we did.
Yeah.
Especially during those teenage years.
They weren't bad. There's been worse.
I thought Gianna was focusing on something else, but I forgot that she can see on her laptop like what we're doing, and when I went like this,
Yeah.
What else would I be
Gianna
doing?
was easy. Gianna was
Thank
easy.
you. I know.
She was easy.
Are you kidding? Be so thorough with me right now, mommy.
Well, listen.
I am a homebody. What bad thing did I do?
Okay, it's not that you did anything bad.
Right.
It's that your attitude.
Oh, be so thorough with me, mommy, right now. I have your attitude. Where do you think I got it from?
Wow.
That's right, family. I got 2 of them in the house, so there you go. Pray for me, please.
So, what are you trying to say? That when Lewis was here, it kind of helped balance out?
Yeah, it did.
Mm.
It balanced it out a little bit.
Did it?
It did.
Hmm.
And my 2 boy dogs now. They balanced it out now.
Yeah, your dad today was over there, and he was like, I was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to get my boys. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm going to get my boys. And I was like, what are you talking about? Going downstairs to get my boys. He was talking about the dogs.
Because they just finished eating. All right, so last week we defined blended families. We need to get into this, though. We defined blended families, also often called step families. Step families. I don't think I've ever heard anybody call it that.
No.
Step family.
Yeah, this is my. We used to bonus child or bonus children,
No.
bonus parents.
I mean,
you said it. You said it
I
last
did. I
week a
did say
couple
yesterday,
times.
but I thought you were asking
Last
me.
week. What's wrong with you? Anyways, step family is formed when one or both partners in a relationship have previous relationships.
Right. What I was going to say before you guys harmonized it with one another was we never referred to our family unit as like a step family or a step parent or I don't think Lewis has ever called me stepmom.
Well, he was one.
No, I know, but
what I mean is that he was one. It wasn't like he had any knowledge of step anything at that point. You were just mother. And then
Well,
5
first
years.
I was Babe.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is true.
What was wrong with that? I thought it was, everyone thought it was cute because that's what I always called you. That's why he called her that, because that's what I always called you.
And he just assumed that that was my name.
That was her name, yeah.
Like you thought Lewis's name was Babu.
Babu. But that's different because he's my brother.
Yeah, but
Brother.
but you went with Babu because you didn't know no different, and he went with Babe because he didn't know no different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now I'm Mother. Sounds so.
Like mother locked me in the room.
He's always called you mother, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
All right, let's get in because we're talking about parenting styles.
So this morning we're driving to church, and I was like, okay, babe, you know, this is what we're going to be talking about on the pod today. So let's just get prepared. And let's also ask Gianna what she thinks, because if anybody knows us the most, it's going to be our children. And since Lewis isn't here, he can't really have any kind of say. But we went over that there are 4 different parenting styles. And so we wanted to talk to our audience.
My audience
We
about
wanted to
this.
talk to the audience about. We wanted to talk to the audience about these 4 parenting styles so that you could, you know, kind of judge and see where you're at. The cool thing when we were going over it, we did realize that we started off one way, but now we can say that we are another way. So let's define these 4 different parenting styles. Velasquez, I'm going to go ahead and have you read the first 2.
Why? Because you don't know how to pronounce those words.
I had a hard time this morning. I literally went on Google and I said, how do you say this word properly? And a man had to tell me how to say it.
Exactly the way I was telling her the way it said. Okay, but here we go.
This was our morning.
Authoritative. That's the first one. Authoritative.
Okay, define
Read the
it.
definition. No, I'll say the name since you don't know how to say the name. And
Good
you read
grief.
the rest.
Anyways, this is a style characterized by a balance of responsiveness and demandingness. Authoritative parents communicate openly with their children, set clear rules, and encourage independence within limits. This style is generally associated with positive outcomes in children.
You're listening because you're gonna determine which ones we are.
Yes.
And then there's authoritarian.
Okay, so in contrast, authoritarian parents are strict and expect obedience without much room for discussion. This might lead to a more fearful relationship where children feel that they can feel they can't express their thoughts. So this is where we had this argument in the car.
No, there's no argument. Let's go. Permissive.
No.
Permissive. Permissive parents are very loving and lenient, but often fail to enforce rules. While children may feel more freedom, this can also lead to a lack of discipline. And then there's uninvolved. Lastly, uninvolved parents are emotionally distant and may not provide adequate supervision or engagement. This can lead to children feeling neglected.
So when we were talking about this in the car, when I read the authoritarian, in contrast, authoritarian parents are strict and expect obedience without much room for discussion. This might lead to a more fearful relationship where children feel they can't express their thoughts. He goes, that's you. He said that.
Did not.
You did. And then when I read the what is it?
Authoritative.
Yeah, authoritative.
What is it?
When I read that one, he's like, I would say that that's me. I would say that that's
What's
me.
the
My
third-
children love me.
Let's.
I didn't say that. Authoritative is sets clear rules and encourages independence with limits. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
This style is characterized by a balance, responsive, and demandingness. Authoritative parents communicate openly with their children, set clear rules, and encourage independence within limits. This style is generally associated with a positive outcome in children, and they're children. And the other one says, do what I say. Gianna, my name is Liz, your mama. I'm just kidding.
You see what I'm saying? This is what caused an argument today.
It's a joke. All right, Gianna, which one am I? Or am I, look, be honest, permissive that lets you do whatever you want so you end up getting into big trouble? or uninvolved that I just kind of walk past you
Well,
and
I'm gonna just put you guys in the same category because
oh, what a wimp you are.
no, because honestly, if I'm being so completely honest with you, neither of you are permissive. Neither of you. That's a word, right?
Yeah.
Neither of you are. What's the last one?
Uninvolved.
Uninvolved.
Listen.
No fear, Gianna. No fear.
Listen, let me help you.
No fear, Gianna.
If I'm being honest,
Yes.
both of you guys fall into both of the two top categories.
Dun, dun! And this is what I said. I said that we started off authoritarian. Yes, and now we are authoritative. What is it?
Authoritative. Authoritative.
I don't know why I can't get this word.
Because you're not looking at
We
it. You're just
start-
trying to get it off the top of your head.
No, we started authoritarian.
I don't think
and
so.
now we're authoritative.
I don't think so. Come on. I don't think so. I was never I was expect obedience without
know
much
what?
room for discussion.
I feel like we should phone a friend. I'm gonna call Lewis.
He's probably not gonna answer, but call him.
Let's see.
Come on. I used to feed this kid till he was almost 7 years old. I allowed him to do almost everything. I was a little bit more permissive. I would say I was more permissive in the beginning than I was authoritarian. I was loving, lenient, but often failed to enforce rules.
You know what? Okay. Okay. So then it would be both of you guys are, what is the other one? Authoritative?
Authoritative. We
Notice
ended
how
up
easy
there.
I said that?
Yeah, no, very easy. that's where we
You
landed.
guys are both authoritative, but you're definitely more authoritarian and he's permissive.
Right now, in this life.
No, we're talking about what we
Overall.
evolved.
Unfortunately, you were definitely the more strict ones. That's why I went to Poppy for a lot of things.
My heart just broke. Wait, so are you talking about like growing up? Are you talking about growing up or like right now? Like you can't come to me?
Growing up.
We
Mommy,
talking-
be so for real, mommy. I call you for everything.
We're talking about growing up. We said we processed it. I certainly
No,
was
definitely.
permissive.
Growing up, I definitely went to Poppy for things when you told me no.
I was permissive, a little bit more permissive, and you were a little more authoritative. Well, you're at least you're not uninvolved. Let's start there.
Okay. So let's talk about the uninvolved parent.
Yeah, because that one. Can I just real quick listen, men?
Oh.
Yeah, listen, men. It's
Ew.
really easy to pass everything off to your wife because she's the nurturer in the house and she's the one that loves on them, and you find yourself that you don't have to deal with it. Go talk to your mom about this. Go talk to your mom. Go talk to your mom. I'm at work all day. Go talk to your mom. No, you need to be involved. As the father, you are a representation of God. I don't mean to get all spiritual, but I'm going to get all spiritual. As the father, you are a representative of God. Literally, he calls himself Father. So you need to have his attributes in this world. And as that father, from the very beginning of time, all he wanted to do was spend time with his children. From the beginning of time, he was chasing his children. After he created them and they sinned, he put them out of the garden, but he continued conversation with Cain and Abel. And from then until this very day, all our Father has been doing is chasing after us. So we cannot be uninvolved as fathers. I'm over this small group of men, and to a person, I went around because we're talking about how our relationship with our Father impacts the way we parented our kids. And to the one, everybody. My father was there, but he was uninvolved. He was mean. He was rude. Or my father was there. He was a preacher. All he did was preach to me. My father was there, but he was drunk and he beat me. My father was there, or my father was gone. So our children cannot grow up with daddy issues because 75% of the men that are incarcerated are there because they did not have a fatherly role model. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know the statistics for women, but I'm pretty sure they're about the same. And so you cannot be uninvolved. You must be involved. And it's difficult for us and uncomfortable for us, but you have to do it, which is why the family meetings, and if you didn't watch last week's podcast, listen to last week's podcast, because we talk about family meetings, and that's a perfect time for you to begin to break out of that shell and get yourself involved in your kid's life. And a lot of our family members right now, we were on the way there, we talked. And if you're watching and you're from our family, we're talking to you. You are not involved, right? On both sides, not involved in the family. Encouraging and holding kids accountable to what they need to do. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off my preacher box for the day, and I'm gonna turn it over to you. But you need to be involved as a man. I don't know if you want to share more on the uninvolved piece, but
Yeah, I just think it's really important for us to realize that, sometimes self-examination is really important. And if you find yourself, coming home from a long day of work and you're just kind of like doing your own thing, or, like I remember growing up, my mom worked really long hours at the hospital. And so, she would come home and, sometimes dinner would be made and sometimes it wouldn't. Like we had, we had 3 floors in our house, and the basement was kind of the relaxing floor, I guess, or the place that everyone would just like chill. And that was just kind of like an automatic. It was like she'd come home from work, or she would wake up from, from working nights or whatever. And it was just right downstairs, and that was it. There was no involvement. There was no, connection. There was no coming to any of my basketball games, or there was no, so that, and it's sad for me because I had to sit there and reflect, like even when we were talking about all the things that Gianna was involved in sports, and, I don't want to sit here and say that I pat myself on the back, but we talked about it this morning that, I was very, when I knew that I was becoming a parent, I knew that I needed to do everything the opposite of what my parents did, because there was things that lacked. There were things that were missing. There was emotional things that were missing. And I never wanted that to be imparted on either one of my kids. Now, did we make mistakes early on?
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of those videos like on TikTok where, it's from the child's perspective, and they say things like, my parents were also growing up too. Like they didn't really know, they didn't really, they may not have had the resources or the examples to be parents themselves. So it's kind of like almost reflecting and looking like, well, man, maybe I shouldn't treat them as harsh as they deserve, because they too were growing up, and we talked about how when we were parenting Lewis, we were both first-time parents together.
Yeah. And to the defense of that generation, the generation that raised us, there was no sensitivity training. There was no mindful trainings. There were no podcasts for those that there was no, learn how to be a good parent podcast.
Yeah.
There was nothing available at that time. They needed to be parented correctly by their previous generation, and so on and so on and so on. And so again, no fingers being pointed at our parents, right? They did the best that they could with what
Exactly.
they had.
Yeah.
But at this point, we are in the realm where information is overflowing. So there is no excuse not to make a shift for the goodness of your family and for your children.
Well, and to add to that, our lives completely changed when we really surrendered our lives to Christ too.
Amen.
So, that had a lot to do with it as well. Like when you completely surrender all of those things, and all of those things as you get into a relationship, what I mean by that is, well, we didn't hear I love you in the house growing up. Therefore, I'm going to bring that into my family because I didn't hear it. Well, why should we hold that back, to our kids when, the epitome and the example of love is Jesus. And
Amen.
so there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for us not to be involved. There's no excuse for us to, to impart that type of damage on our kids, because that's really what it does, is it damages our kids when we don't show up for them.
So it looks like we're starting from the bottom up.
Yeah.
So let's take the permissive parent. I wonder who was a permissive parent.
Good
Who was a
grief.
permissive parent?
Let me read it for you. Permissive parents are very
No,
loving.
I know, but who?
Your dad.
Oh.
Very loving and lenient, but often fail to enforce rules. While children may feel more freedom, this can lead to a lack of discipline.
I don't remember
Me being that way?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, son, I'm sorry. Louis, I'm sorry. I literally let him do pretty much the first maybe 5 years, whatever he wanted
I love how your
to
dad
do.
always puts a number to things.
Yeah.
You for a long time, Velasquez.
I love how you exaggerate a lot.
Oh, please.
So
You were like feeding him until he was 7.
and that's an exaggeration. He wasn't 7. And I say that exaggeration, but it wasn't 7 years old. That would be absolutely ridiculous. He was already in school, and I would pick him up, pick him up on Friday, drop him off on Monday, and I would stop at McDonald's and got him one of those
Happy Meal.
McGriddles.
McGriddles. It was breakfast. A Happy Meal for breakfast? A McGriddle.
That's not the craziest
a
thing.
McGriddle. I think it would be a McGriddle, and he
Sure,
would
why
eat it
not?
himself at the office because I would have to get there so early before I dropped him off at school. So I wasn't feeding him at 7 years old. That was an exaggeration. But I admit to being permissive. I admit to being lenient. I admit that there was times where there was no rules. There was no time to go to bed if he didn't want to go to bed. If he wanted to stay up all night with his PlayStation, he could do it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. You're a mix of all three of them, because I remember when we were in the apartments, no phones. Put your phones in the counter.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
No electronics on Sundays. That's a very strict.
One day out of the week, no electronics, and
That's
not
a
allowing
strict
phones, and not allowing
rule.
phones in the room. Can I tell you? Right now? I'm ministering to a family that was hoping that they wouldn't allow phones to be in their kids' room after dark. So that none of that is permissive. That is actually love, and that is actually controlling what you put into your mind and into your eyes when nobody else is watching.
And let's just be honest. You two little sneaky snakes would get in trouble when there was phone checks. So
No, not I.
Gianna.
I didn't get in much trouble as Louis did.
As much. As much.
But okay, hold on. In my defense,
no
hold
defense.
on.
There's no
Talk.
defense.
Hold
Let her
on,
talk.
hold on.
There's no
because
defense.
if we're, let's be honest, okay?
Let's
Obviously,
not
we
Be
use
so
have-
that.
for real with me
Hold
right
on,
now.
hold on. Let me speak, please. You had your turn.
This is not about turns. This is about being authoritarian. And so, no.
When we did phone checks, most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, you guys would have been like, "Okay, Johnny, you're good."
True.
Okay?
True.
So don't give me that. Don't.
But it's not never.
Don't.
But it wasn't
Don't.
never.
Don't.
Wait, but didn't we have to like check your meep or something?
I don't know. I
No,
didn't
we
think I
didn't
had something on
check.
my Meep.
We didn't have
All
to
I
check
had
your
was
Meep.
YouTube.
No, there was something that I had to check that I like scrolled on it and I saw that you were swearing with your little
That
teeny
was her
friend.
phone.
That was my
That was her
phone.
phone.
And remember, I told you, I was like, they were calling you up.
So she said a bad word, so it's okay for you to say a bunch of bad words.
Yeah.
If anybody gets this, she was defending me
Yeah.
because her friends were calling me a gardening tool.
So it's only fair.
Anyways, that was
And I
pretty funny.
still have the screenshots from those text messages too.
You do?
I don't.
Wow.
I found them in my
Good.
Google Photos.
Wasn't that like in 8th grade?
Yes.
Wow.
No, it was in 7th grade.
Well, so yes, permissive parents, although loving and lenient, and there's nothing wrong with that because, you know, there's moments where we can be a little bit lenient, especially when, and I know why he was doing it. So now on a serious note, I know why, you know, Lou was doing it because, you know, in the beginning, you know, I would I would be very strict. It was all or nothing. There was bag checks. But these were things where we
check.
For Lewis, yeah.
Well, and rightfully so.
Why?
Because he wasn't handing in his homework. His teachers were sending emails like Lewis isn't handing in his homework and all this other stuff. And it was done. It was just in his bag.
Lazy boy.
So again, as the step parent, I took the role like when you are in my care, when you are in my house, then we are going to make sure that things are happening. I didn't do it because I hated Lewis. I did it because I wanted him to be successful. I didn't want him to, look like a dunce in school when he was doing the work, and he didn't get that, And so
yeah, but so I get it, and I don't think I ever said anything to you about that. I always thought it was a good thing that it happened. But think about it. I can speak. You can speak for you, but I can speak. My aunt and my uncle, they were uninvolved. Complete. Nobody checked my bag. Nobody cared about nothing like that. They just cared. Tráeme la lista. Bring me the list of things we need for school. There goes everything you need. Go forth and conquer. And that's it. No one checked my homework. When I would get my grades, I would get in trouble if anything was under a C or lower. But other than that, and I was, not for nothing, but I was pretty smart in grammar school. So it was just kind of like, hello, all A's. But anyways, they were uninvolved, and that made it easy for me to be uninvolved. I just was kind of like, yeah, he'll take care of it. And then two, really, it was grammar school, right? When we first started that journey, it was grammar school because as soon as he went to high school, he moved in here.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, his freshman year of high school, he was here.
Well, and I think that it was easy for both of us to be uninvolved in his life because
he was over there
most of the time, and he was with us on the weekends. And so we didn't want it to be one of those, strict, bringing down the hammer weekends every time he was with us. But what I remember us talking about a lot is we have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
We have to be in one accord. We have to make sure that when we are disciplining the kids, that it's what we do for one, we do for all.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree.
was it the best? No.
I think it worked out well.
But I think Gianna survived.
What are you talking about?
I think it
Our
worked out well.
parenting skills.
Yeah, well,
We did. It worked out well. Even Louis, coming and going, and his other life over there with his mom. He's doing well. He's managing a restaurant. He's got a girlfriend. He's not. At 22, I was barely coming out of the county jail. So he's well surpassed my life. So. And he'll continue to grow and get better. So the permissive parent is loving and lenient, but it can lead to a lack of discipline, which becomes a big, 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 big problem. So the authoritarian.
Do I have to read that?
Yeah, that's you, isn't it? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Authoritarian parents are strict and expect obedience without much room for discussion. This might lead to a more fearful relationship where children feel they can't express their thoughts.
That was can I tell you, that was a short period of time. That was a short period of time. I think is when we first got here is when it became evident. It was different at the displays department because we were in a little matchbox. There wasn't a lot to clean. There wasn't a lot to do. You know what I mean? Everything was one glimpse away, and you can see where everything was and how everything was organized. And so, and you like that type of organization. The kids had bunk beds, and typically it was just Gianna for the most part in the house. And so, and then I was working from home. Even back then, I was working from home. So, you walked in, dinner was done. I mean, everything was pretty much cared for. There wasn't a huge mess because there wasn't a huge place. But I think when it got here, and we had all these five different bedrooms and 2 dogs, and they were able to run around, and you would just kind of walk in like, and punish everybody for a month. Give me your phones forever.
Wow, that was flashbacks.
Are you being serious?
I mean, Sometimes, yeah. Oh no, mommy's home. I gotta get up because if I'm not up, I'm gonna get in trouble. If I'm not moving, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Can I tell you that that's the same feeling I had when my dad would get home?
Oh my gosh.
That's what it is, though. That's what it is. I'm glad you said that.
It was the same. There was the exact same feeling, and I would purposely sit in his office because the window would be right there, and you could see. You could see when he gets
So you were the lookout. Daddy's home. He's home, y'all.
Yep. It was like fight or flight mode. You know, when you seen him, you had to go, and he didn't sit in the car. He darted right out of the car and right into the house. So you really didn't have a lot of time. You had to go. You had to go.
So that was. But you know, we got back to the basics because we used to do family meetings, not that much, but we used to do them at in Des Plaines, just on the weekends because that's when Louis was there, right? And so, but here we started meeting more often, right? This is, I think, when we got here is where we absolutely made it a rule that dinner had to be together, and it was going to be a time where we talked through our days and how it was and how it went, and you know what the rest of the night was going to look like.
We did dinner in Des Plaines too.
Yeah, but Des Plaines was tiny.
We still did it.
I honestly don't remember anything about Des Plaines.
Des Plaines was tiny, and we didn't do it the way we did it when we first moved in here. It wasn't the same.
Well, this is our first home, so
I'm just
Wow,
telling you, it just wasn't. I mean, we owned a condo before, and it was huge. It wasn't a small condo either. But then from then we were like Kildare, Des Plaines, and then here.
Condo.
Yeah.
Schaumburg, you were a baby. You wouldn't remember that.
You had a huge room with the.
Is that the one with the stairs and then the fish tank?
Yes. Oh wow, you do remember.
And then there was the long hallway. Lewis's room was that way. Your room was that way, and my room was straight down.
Right there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And we had a big tub where you used to swim in it like it was.
Yeah,
a
and that's
swimming
why I
pool.
broke when I fell and I hit my head. Yeah.
Wow.
And you had that butterfly chair in there in the bathroom.
Yep.
Wow. Details.
I know.
Seriously.
And I had the kitchen in my room.
Yeah. See, it was big.
And I also had the little Sleeping Beauty makeup thing in there too.
Yeah. So it was big.
I have really good memory.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you.
So yeah, you were an authoritarian for a minute, but then we talked about it. It was communication. We talked about it. You know, I said, hey, look, you just punish them for their entire rest of their life, and then you go to work in a place, and I got to stay here and enforce these rules when I also got to be on phone calls. This is not going to work. You're going to have to go back and rescind your death penalty. Rescind your death penalty and be like, hey, you guys are punished from this time to this time or whatever it is going to be. But what you just laid down, the smackdown you laid down, then wasn't going to work.
I guess one of the things that I do appreciate, though, that even when I did lay down the smackdown, you didn't say anything right in front of the kids.
No.
He would allow me to lay down the smackdown, and then we would have to. He would do this. Can we talk for a second? Can we go upstairs for a minute?
Yeah. So again.
Why are you laughing?
Because I've yeah.
So again.
You've been witness to some of those conversations.
So again, because sometimes they got loud anyways. So again, family, tips, right? You don't disagree about the camera. This one, right?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. You don't disagree with your spouse in front of the children, right? You allow them to finish, and then you have a conversation, and then you allow them to correct it. Then you don't come down like, hey guys, I talked to your mom, and you're gonna be able to know. It's on the person, whoever it was, if it was me, if it was her, to go back down and say, hey, look, I was just thinking about it. You know, I prayed about it, whatever. I prayed about it, and I think I was a little bit over the top, and so let's just do this instead. So that's a tip.
Yeah, that's good.
And
we live by that, and it really did work. So last but not least, what is authoritative?
This style is characterized by a balance. I love that. A balance of responsiveness and demandingness. The authoritative parent communicate openly with their children, set clear rules, and encourage independence within limits. This style is generally associated with a positive outcome in children. And can I tell you that I I 100% agree with this parenting style and the benefits of being this way. We didn't pressure Gianna to do anything except what she wanted to do in her life when she became old enough to start making her own decisions, and she chose Jesus. So amen
Oh
to
my
that.
gosh.
so, so, so amen to that. Can I tell you, I exasperated my son when he was getting ready to graduate high school. And so, son, if you're watching, I don't know that you ever do, but if you are watching, I apologize for exasperating you when you were getting ready to get out of high school, but it was for what I thought was your benefit. And it didn't work out as well as I would have liked to have, but I'm still proud of what you're doing and how you're living your life. And yeah, but again, there was a balance. Inevitably, there was a balance.
I want to look at for something because I think what you're saying. Oh, never mind.
So this style is generally
Right.
associated with a
Right.
positive outcome in your children, and I would attest to that because as we grew into it, our relationship with our kids, our relationship with our kids, were is amazing. And my conversation with Gianna, going back and forth to school, I'll treasure those because there's times where we talked about nothing in particular, and then there's times where we talked about some pretty deep things. I remember sharing with her spirit, soul, and body on the way home one day, and she was like, "Man, you need to tell Daystar to bring you in and teach this or something
It's
like
supposed to
that."
be my school.
Yeah, so what? Anyway,
Well, I think even in the car today, I had said that I believe that we both started off somewhere.
yeah,
So he started permissive, I started authoritarian, and then we've both kind of came together and we can both agree that we're authoritative.
very good.
Look at I said it. Look at
Very good.
me. Woohoo.
And I think it's the same as that illustration that I give to our couples, right? So in the form of a triangle, you put Jesus at the top of that triangle, and the closer you get to Jesus, the closer you get to each other. And I think the closer we got to each other, because one of our biggest connections are our children, then we begin to parent our children exactly the same way to make sure that there's no ambiguity, that there's no taking sides, that when we say something, we've talked about it and we're on the same page.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of comes to the second part. Like how do you navigate effectively with these differences, knowing that we talked about these 4 different parenting styles. Now what do you do with that? So as parents, we now have to come together and say, okay, well, this is who we are. Maybe we want to get to the authoritative person and we're, permissive right now, or, we're maybe we are what's the fourth one? Uninvolved, right? Maybe we are uninvolved, and that's okay. If you're acknowledging that now, there's time for change.
Yeah.
And the time is now. So how can you do that? Well, we talked a little bit about it last week. Open communication first and foremost, among each family member, right? Having regular meetings. So this doesn't just go when when the kids are small. We talked about blended families in terms of coming together, as kids when they're young, having these family meetings so that you can get to know each other, so that you can but that doesn't stop when they're teenagers, when they're, young adults. Conversations have to keep going, which is the second point. Consistency is key. Agreeing on core values and boundaries helps children understand what to expect.
Expand. Sorry.
Gianna does this.
What's that?
No said word gets past her. None.
Yeah. It runs in the family.
We have to understand what to expect from each parent. You have to involve everyone. So involving the children in discussion about rules gives them a sense of control and respect, and they're more likely to follow them when they feel included. So
Yeah.
everybody has to feel included in these discussions.
I also think that consistently this house, at least once a year in the beginning of the year, we share a vision.
Mm-hmm.
We share a vision, and communication starts with a vision. What are you going to be pushing towards? What are you going to be driving? Right in the book of Habakkuk, it tells us share the vision, make it plain, write it out, right? And so if your issue is that you're uninvolved, know that, write yourself a vision of how you're going to get involved, right? And then start to engage your family so that you can, and start with your wife, obviously, or with your husband if you're, the wife. Start with your spouse and be like, okay, I've identified that I'm uninvolved, right? And you don't have to wait till 2026. You can start right now. But I've identified, excuse me, that I'm uninvolved. Here's the plan to be more involved, right? We're gonna have open communication, you and I, and talk about what it is that I need to do to be more involved. I'm gonna try my best to be consistent, right? I'm gonna involve the children more in the different things that we do. Sometimes we think that we have to rake the leaves or mow the lawn by ourselves, and there was a little while Louis was like, I'll mow the lawn, right? Let me do it. I'll do it. Just fill up the gas and I'll do it, right? And so if you involve them even in chores, right? And here's here's where I failed with Louis, and I wish I would have done better with, is that, again, sit down and played some League of Legends with him, or we used to play
You guys did chess together.
we did play chess, quite
Mortal
a bit together.
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
I played
together.
Mortal Kombat with him too.
Yeah.
Here we go with
Yeah.
this story again.
We're not gonna
We're not
touch
going
the
to talk
story.
about that.
Okay.
More, so,
Good grief.
anyways, anyways, so a little bit, but there could have been more time. I could have spent more time with that. I spent a lot of time encouraging Gianna with her art, and with her, when she was playing the viola and when she was just in playing softball, because she did take up sports, and almost every time it came up, she was involved, and so I kind of helped her with her craft. I wasn't too much involved in helping her with volleyball, but I was there to encourage her, and she was, man, it was amazing to watch her lead her team. She was certainly the spirit of the team, and so you have to be involved with your children, and yeah, so that you can in fact begin to make a difference, make a change in their lives.
And if as we speak about being uninvolved, this doesn't go, this obviously goes to the parent that is uninvolved as a whole, right?
Yeah.
But in speaking to the blended families, it's really easy for us to be very involved in our biologicals, but very uninvolved in our kids that are considered our bonus child or our step parent. And I was guilty of that for a very long time. And so just like I said last week, everything that we talk about at our table, we've invited you into our home. Everything we talked about at this table is to the parents that are in the midst of the parenting right now. We want to help in cases where this may be going on and you can undo some things. I can't turn back time.
Right.
And I know that I had made a lot of mistakes in that area, but I don't want new parents to make those mistakes now. And over and over and over again, as we sit with couples, I start to see that behavior happening. Our children see that, and we have to be very, very careful about how we parent, especially when it comes to the kids that are coming, into a marriage. A lot of things seem foreign, and we shouldn't be the foreign object in the home to them. We should be a place of love. We should be a place of peace. We should be a place of, community. Like there should be a togetherness when it comes to a blended family. And it's work. We talked about that too.
Yeah.
It is work. It is work. We talked about focusing on consistency, involving the children to make sure that everybody has a voice, and respect each other's roles. It's important for step parents to respect the role of biological parents and vice versa. We did not do that.
No.
I don't think.
No, not at first, but as we as we moved into the authoritarian type of
Authoritative.
type of parenting, we did share a lot of insights. And even when we lived in Des Plaines and something came up that we knew it was going to be heated, we would tell the kids, we're going to be right outside in the car, right? And we would just go to our car.
Right by the dumpster.
Right? We'd just go to our car, and we would yell, we would scream, we would whatever it is that needed to happen that we didn't want to see our kids hear. But by the time we got out of the car, we had a plan together on how we were going to address whatever the issue was that caused us to be separated for that brief moment and have different perspectives on the same issue.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of put that out there that it's not going to be perfect. It's not always going to be easy, but if you put in the work, I can tell you again, I live a blessed life my entire life. I can, from the moment that I came out of the womb, all odds were against me, and here I am, 54, just about to be 55 years later, and I have been nothing but blessed. I've had my ups, my downs. I've made my mistakes. I almost started singing that song. I made mistakes, but not a few.
Oh my goodness.
But anyways, but I didn't do
Right.
it my way. I did not do it my way because that's the anthem to hell. I did it
My
God's
God.
way. I did it God's way. Anyways, so here, expert insights. Now, we are not licensed clinicians. Is that the way it says?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're not licensed clinicians,
That's
but
a word.
I think it is. Look it up. Help me out.
Clinicians?
Help me out. It's,
How? What am I supposed to look it up on?
just ask if clinician is a word.
Where I have no technology in front of me that is
Okay.
able to be used.
So you don't have a phone. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay. But here you
Right.
go. But we want to help. We want to help. You can email us at marriage@mynewlife.org. Marriage@mynewlife.org. We actually have spent a lot of time with this. We spend a lot of time making sure that we are experts at what we talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are experts at walking folks through their marriage, no matter what it is. And so you can email us at marriage@mynewlife.org, and is clinicians the right word?
Well, clinicians is a doctor having contact and responsibility for patients.
Okay, so we're not.
We're not doctors.
not
We're not
doctors.
doctors. We're not therapists. When something gets to the point that therapy needs to get involved, we have connects. We
Yeah.
have people that we're closely connected to that we can, pass on that information. But what we are experts in is leading people to Christ. We are experts in, what is that saying? Like, like follow me as I follow Christ.
Yeah, that's not a
You know,
saying. That's
we-
discipleship.
Yeah, well, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
We are there to be the middleman, if you will. And my life partner is a life coach.
Yeah, certified life coach. Yep, cognitive psychiatry, psychology, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and of course I have a background in communications,
Yeah.
and so if we're there to toot our own horn, we're not doctors, but we know what we're talking
You
about.
know what we're talking about.
And if you need people to come alongside you, then we are the people that will help come alongside you and help walk you through a very fruitful
Yep.
marriage and help with mediation. And so,
And we do it for the glory of God and for the goodness of his people.
amen.
So as we wrap up this segment, remember that there's no one size fits all approach to
Right.
parenting in blended families. Each family is unique, and adapting to each other's style takes time and effort and help. And so we're here to help. If you have any other godly people that can come alongside of you, reach out to them. But remember, the proof is in the fruit.
Pudding.
No, the proof is in the fruit, and fruit is sitting right in front of me, and fruit is sitting right now managing a restaurant for us, and so we have fruit to share.
Yeah. And you have fruit in front of you that inevitably, if and when you get to the point where you say, okay, I need to make a conscious change, and like we talked about before, do some self-reflection, things could be very fruitful within your home. They may not look like it right now, but it absolutely can be. So
Amen.
that takes us to the end of this segment. Thank you for joining us. We'll see
Yeah.
you next week on episode 34.
Yep. Love y'all.
34. Love y'all.
Thank you. God bless.